new documentary out, Global Warming, Emerging Science and Understanding. He also has another film we carry, Global Warming or Global Government. You need to show these to your friends and family and neighbors. First, they get you all hyped up that humans are bad, it's for the earth, we're going to save it. This is social workers, bureaucracy, feudalism, serfdom. They want to go to a post-industrial system of total bondage and slavery under environmental crimes. And it's not toxic waste dumping they're worried about or open-air planting of cross-species genetic engineered organisms that could cause a problem. It's not about real environmentalism or conservation. It's about control. And you can get his new documentary at Infowars.com. Dr. Michael Coffman, so much has happened since we had you on 6 months ago. Time just flies. They've passed the total carbon tax takeover. It was worse than we feared. They kept the bill secret till after it passed. Total federalization, home inspections, shutting down selectively whatever they want. Every federal agency and sub-agencies with the power to levy carbon taxes arbitrarily. It seems the new direction in government is just to give dictatorial power to the agency. They've got gun bills introduced to let the Attorney General ban any guns he wants at his stroke of a pen, if he just states it, that allow him to put anybody on a no-fly list or no gun-buy list, no judge, no jury, no conviction. It's the same thing with this global carbon system. They just set up offshore authorities, and then we're ruled by them. Dr. Coffman.
Absolutely, because we have no way of actually addressing somebody that's offshore that does not have any accountability to us whatsoever. And that's why they're doing it, because they want to basically control the U.S. economy. And remember, we've talked about this on your program before, for every bit of carbon dioxide that's emitted, it has a corresponding impact on our economy. It's almost a 1-to-1 ratio. So if we reduce our carbon emissions by 20%, we reduce our economy about by 20%. It's a terrible, terrible thing. They're trying to get renewable energy to take its place, but Spain has shown that for every green job created with renewable energy, they lose 2.5 jobs. It costs hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars in Spain. They have 18% unemployment. They've been doing this for 10 years.
But see, the government
right there.
But see, the government then directs the switchover in the economy, and the profits only go to a select few, so it vertically integrates. But they know carbon's not bad, Dr. Coffman. They know it's what plants breathe. That's why they diabolically chose carbon to tax, knowing it's a carbon cycle and we're carbon-based life forms.
Absolutely, and this new DVD that you mentioned, Global Warming and Emerging Science, has new footage in it from the old DVD that clearly, I mean, absolutely and positively shows that man cannot be causing global warming. In fact, a new study was just released yesterday that basically says that all of the carbon dioxide in the last 600,000 years couldn't be responsible for the warming and the cooling. There is no correlation whatsoever. It calls into serious doubt. This is peer-reviewed in Nature Science. Peer-reviewed science that shows that there is really highly questionable evidence now, or strong evidence that questions now the man-caused global warming theory based on carbon dioxide. So everything is against these people, yet you see in Congress them major push. How they got it, they introduced the bill on May 15th. It was passed on June 26th. Over 1,000, almost 1,500 pages long. Nobody had a chance to read it. It's the most expensive bill this country has ever passed. Nobody ever read it. It was rammed through Congress, and what it contains will blow your mind. It basically, everything that you said in introducing this whole subject, Alex, is true, plus a lot. I mean, you're only touching the surface areas. It will destroy this nation as we know it now. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind about it.
But that's exactly what the Club of Rome, that's exactly what Holdren called for. We're going to get back into the science and take some phone calls coming up, but let's first get into academia. I mean, you have worked around these phony environmentalists. You've been around them. In my experience, the vast majority of them do believe in neo-eugenics. They do believe in sterilization. They do believe in one-child policies. And now they're openly pushing it, saying babies are bad. They have a bad carbon footprint. I'm going to show some headlines to people here in a moment. And really, these are just control freaks who want a managed collectivist economy and they're making their move right now. And now we have the president's technology advisor's textbook, 1,100 pages, saying forcibly drug the water, have CPS take all the children, have a managed economy. We wonder why the government seems so out of control and nuts. They're not nuts. They know what they're doing.
Well, they're nuts. They're absolutely insane. There's no question about that. But they are doing it deliberately, yes. There's no question about it for exactly the reasons you're discussing. In fact, I am literally astonished that anybody in their right mind would even consider doing what is being done right now, because there is no justification for it whatsoever other than the political justification of destroying us and rebuilding it in their image under their control. That's the whole
they're
purpose.
Communist. They're communist. I mean, they are scum. I'm sorry I interrupted. Yes, destroying us, rebuilding us in their image. It's really happening. They're taking over healthcare, industries. They're seizing everything. I mean, they are going to destroy the economy, and the only jobs you're going to get is from them on welfare or through a government contract, Doctor.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the only way we can stop this is to inundate your congressmen and senators, depending on where the bill is at the present time, and tell them to vote no on health care, vote no on cap and trade, vote no on whatever it is, a second stimulus package, whatever it is, and then back it up by saying, I'm not going to vote for you if you vote yes for these things, and then start writing letters to the editor with their name in it, saying that they are trying to destroy this nation. Now, you got to be diplomatic, because otherwise the paper won't print it. But
hell, look at NAFTA, look at GATT. They knew that was going to destroy us. The UN, the IMF, World Bank said they wanted post-industrial. They've done everything they can to destroy us, and now their solution to the crises they created is to throw a wet blanket over an economy that's almost already gone out.
Absolutely. I totally agree. They're just fast-tracking it to the destruction of this nation so that they can start rebuilding it. And we know already they're talking about a single global currency. You and I have been talking about that for, 5 years now in their program, and you have probably talked about it many more times than when I was on. All of these things that we used to talk about, that we were kind of on the superficial fringe of extremism back, as you said at the beginning of the program, 5-10 years ago, now it's in the daily newspapers. It's always written up in a very positive way, of course, but it's impossible to ignore and not see unless you are so brainwashed. And that's what our public education system, unfortunately, has done to us, is so brainwashed us that we look at this and think that's a fantastic idea. And unfortunately, almost half of the nation is in that category. At least it certainly seems to be.
Doctor, I don't know if you've looked at this data, but I'm actually working on a new film right now on having a section on this, but mainstream, even AP studies, where they test the major water supplies of the cities, they're finding high levels of female hormones that block pregnancy, birth control. They're finding high levels of Prozac-type drugs, and they're noticing that it's kind of a generic mass molecule. It's not even the type that people are taking. And they're finding even aquifers that are treated water, where they take aquifer water and then treat it, is having this added. And they've done British studies as well. Clearly somebody's adding it. I've been saying this for years, and the scientists are saying this now. And it's so strong, it's sterilizing fish, whales, amphibians, you name it, birds, or they're being unisex, hermaphrodites. So you studied watersheds and forests and all of this, but then we have all these government reports with the Japanese government proposing it and Obama's head of science proposing it. I mean, do you think there's evidence that they're already testing this out and doing this in some areas?
You can't help but believe that they are, at least on a selected basis, if not more uniform across the country, because what we're seeing here is the eugenics issue. Even though I'm not an expert in eugenics, that whole issue of population control, trying to breed for the best person and that type of thing, is literally at the heart of what we're talking about, and trying to create the new super person in the emerging future. And it's sickening. be a much lower population. The global biodiversity assessment that you mentioned at the beginning of the program calls for reducing the human population from the current 6.5 billion down to about 1, maybe 1.5 billion people, so that we can live, quote unquote, sustainably with nature and so forth. This nature is God belief is underwriting this whole thing. Eugenics is underwriting the whole environmental movement. All the rest. You have to understand it is a major, major religion that's trying to gain control, absolute control over your and my life.
Well, that's the thing, that I come to this just coldly looking at the facts. I don't have any preconceived notions. But every time I run into these environmental leaders, not they're useful idiots on the ground who mean well, when you always talk to them, you find out they're into the occult. Like Dr. Pianka is on the UT website dressed up as a druid talking about Lucifer.